Pursuant to my previous video, where I talked about the surprise archetypes that might come upon us at Worlds, I mentioned Gagarin, and while I don't think I have a good deck nailed right now, this is something that you might expect at Worlds because of team sponsorship and global food. I'm playing a Gagarin deck that makes use of asset spam to get further ahead. Now this differs from my previous attempts at experimenting with it because of the agenda suite. Firstly, with Global Food Initiative, I'm now able to reduce the agenda density of my deck without compromising on the fact that the runner needs to steal 4 agendas to win. More importantly, as you see on the right of the graphic, I'm running Hostile Takeover in Gagarin. You didn't hear me wrong, I just said those two cards in the same sentence. Normally you would never ever even think, it wouldn't even cross your mind that you would run Hostile Takeover in Gagarin simply because it negates your ideal ability just by scoring 1. But I'm playing it in conjunction with Lizzie Mills, which works nicely in Blue Sun, but also has its applications in this deck because team sponsorship. If I have an Elizabeth Mills in the trash or in my hand, and I score a Hostile Takeover, I can immediately remove the bad pup by using team sponsorship's installation to install Lizzie Mills, after rezzing her immediately to rid of the bad pup. This means that I can score a Hostile Takeover for 3 clicks and gain 3 credits and 1 agenda point net, which is a very good deal, as long as I have 1 team sponsorship res. If I have more team sponsorships, I can install even more stuff. Benefits. Alright, I'm playing up against Kate, and Kate immediately installs a +3 against me, which is fine because I run 0 meat damage. So I accept that and move on with a paywall implementation now that I studied up my central defenses. I want to make sure that every remote I make from now on is both taxing and beneficial to me. He installs 3 rabbit holes, so this is Jangdom right away. He has 4 Link. Well, I don't really run any Trace cards, no Caduceus in this deck, so I guess that's fine. I joined the Hostile Takeover here. I could attempt to score it, but he has SMC. Nope, he cannot cloud me because he's on 0 credit, so I immediately score the Hostile Takeover before he goes on with the game and is able to install Clot. So yeah, taking advantage of my scoring windows here while I still can. Against Clot, Hostile Takeover becomes a bit less relevant because you cannot fast advance it as per usual. This is the strength of Hostile Takeover. You want Hostile Takeover in this deck because it's an agenda you can reliably score from hand, as long as the opponent doesn't have Clot, which is important because you want to trigger team sponsorship as often as possible. Okay, now I begin getting a tour guide ready. In the meantime, I do res the Lizzie Mills. He can trash it if he wants. I'm not really concerned with using his ability, not in this matchup because he's probably not running Aesop's Pawn Shop. And I get a wormhole on top of that remote. This means I should be able to score an agenda pretty safely there. The question is, would it be the Global Food Initiative or the Future is Now? The Future is Now seems more preferable. One very important thing is that there are lots of agendas in my deck that can be never advanced. 3 Atlases, 2 the Future is Nows, and 3 Hostile Takeovers. That is huge. You need never advanceable agendas because the moment you advance something on the board, the runner's going to come after it, and my opponent has 2 Underworld Contacts and a Proco taking away with an SMC and 2 Breakers. I have to sneak agendas like this, and the Future is Now allows me to retrieve Caprice Nisei, a singleton in my deck that I almost always will opt to retrieve if I score a Future is Now. Caprice is very important for scoring those Global Food Initiatives and for protecting your remote. If the runner resorts to checking every single one of your remotes, you cannot score agendas unless you have eyes defending them, and hence Caprice comes to the rescue here. I'm going to set up my scoring remote with Caprice in there, and this should allow me to begin scoring the food that is in my hand. But now I see the bad news. He overrides the Mimic with Shrike and goes for my remote. Why is this bad news? Because Shrike breaks Tour Guide for measly 2 credits. I haven't seen Parasite yet. I have a feeling he's not running Parasite in this deck. And Tour Guide is broken for just 2 paltry credits. That is pretty disappointing that he's running Shrike. It is super good against Tour Guide, especially if he's not planning to Parasite it down. at least Caprice stops the run from succeeding, which means that I get to keep my Caprice on the board. And now I desperately need the money to challenge the Caprice side games. Now he begins to gain R&D. With an R&D eye out, I need to tax him, and I do that via spiderweb. But this is really hard. He's gaining 2 free credits every turn. Thankfully, the run on R&D fails, but he does the smart thing here and installs a data folding. So now he has 3 drip credits going for him per turn. I know that I need to rush my way to victory. This deck stands no chance against the drip econ of his, and he has found 2 more data foldings, giving him 5 drip credits a turn. Oh man, my pair campaign is no match for that. Time to start scoring agenda. So I go for total backs instead. I don't know. I'm dilly-dallying right here, and that's the last thing you want to do. I secure R&D here, which is also of primary concern because he has an R&D eye out, and I could just get R&D locked to Oblivion. Enigma's pretty good in this situation because it taxes Zuki Master for 3. Same thing with Spiderweb, taxing Corroder for 3. Too bad he's not running Cerberus Dog, Lady. That would tax Lady very much. Now I find a public support here, but I choose to go for the Jugular. That's Global Food Initiative in the remote. He doesn't exactly know whether that's an agenda or not. All he knows is that I did draw a public support off the top of my deck. So he probably suspects that the Caprice remote contains a public support right now. So I can get away with Global Food in there without him running it. But in the meantime, he installs Security Nexus, which allows him to circumvent my annoying eyes like Wormhole. So that's tough. He now has 6 drip credits per turn, plus a Security Nexus that allows him to walk through my ice. This is not looking good at all. I'm forced to ice up here, and here I make a terrible mistake. After icing up my remote, I decide to reveal to him that it is an agenda in the remote that I'm going for. This is a huge mistake because I can't afford to rest a spiderweb on the outside of my remote. What was I thinking? I was playing this game late at night. I really shouldn't be. It's like playing drunk Netrunner. So the idiot in me thankfully escaped tragedy right there because I won the side game. But that puts me down to 2 credits. Again, I can't rest the outer ice. He goes for my remote again. This time he can't waltz through the wormhole because he has used Nexus already. So he's forced to pay 7 credits by Zoo. So actually things are looking not that bad right now. I bankrupt myself to win the side game, but at least I'm keeping him out. So basically I'm neutralizing his drip economy. I'm forcing him to run through the wormhole again and again, which saps him of credits, while I'm slowly gaining credits via pair campaign. So now I'm going up to 4 credits, and he now has the chance to siege my remote again. And you bet he goes for it. I do not rest the spiderweb here. Once again, he waltzes through the remote the first time, paying only 2 credits. At this point, he has 4 link and a power tap. That's the last blue resource there, which means that he doesn't need to pay any money to get through wormhole at all. The Nexus is supported purely by his link, which is really annoying. Also, the Caprice unsuccessful runs do not count as paywall runs, so I am not actually gaining any credits. While he still isn't able to win my side games, he's doing a very good job of keeping me absolutely poor. Well, not anymore, because he let my pair campaign and total backs go out of control. I can now install 3 cards this turn to gain 6 credits. So now now it's very hard for him to run my remote. If he runs my remote and fails again, he's going to run out of money, and I'll be able to score the Global Food Initiative at long last. He suspects that I have an Atlas naked on the board, which isn't the case. I've been hoarding my assets, and they paid off big time. Because by running my remotes, not only is he wasting time and his money, he's giving me money. Enough money to score the Global Food Initiative and rest the team sponsorship, which I forgot to do here. I asked my opponent to allow me to use team sponsorship after the fact, and he agreed. Very nice of him there. There wasn't much that was worth installing. In my archives were 3 copies of Hedge Fund. So basically the best thing I could install in that scenario was a tour guide on R&D. At least it's free. So basically the team sponsorship made R&D 2 credits more guessing. That's as much as I was going to get. Unfortunately, I wish I could do more there. Wasn't going to happen. He's going to dig through my R&D and use Nexus on Spiderweb. So yeah, he has 5 link right now because Security Nexus gives him 1 link, and he gets 1 credit from the power tap. So he's actually gaining money by running through my ice. And he finally fizzles my paywall implementation by stealing a food. Now you notice that I shuffled my hedge funds back to my deck with Jackson Howard. I wanted to break the R&D lock, so he has to keep checking my remote if he suspects that I might have top deck an agenda, because right now he cannot lock my R&D. I have 2 Jacksons on the board. Right now there's 1, the very final remote. The whole point is to distract him from my R&D by raising the possibility that might be an agenda in the remote. But he doesn't go for it. He goes for the 3 deep R&D dig instead, seeing a Jackson and 2 big agendas. Ooh, that is very bad for me. All my food is gone, and he finds an Atlas. The good news is my public support ticks down and he didn't trash it. That's pretty huge. This means that I'm now up to 6 points, to his 6 points. So this is why Global Food is so good. He steals 3 pointer agendas, 3 of them, he still hasn't won the game. And here, once again, I go for the remote bluff, installing over the fake team sponsorship that I placed in the remote. But he's not fazed by it. He goes for the sure thing again. R&D on his last click. Here, I was going to boost the trace against Security Nexus because I was richer than him. But I misread the UI. I forgot that he had 2 power taps on, which gave him 2 extra credits, which was all the difference that he needed to get through the last spiderweb. So my miscalculations, because I didn't know that he had power tap credits were unaccounted for, cost me the game. Which was a pretty unfortunate way to lose, because I would still have pumped the trace out of his range. I attribute my loss this game to my endgame play, where I tried to bait my opponent to running my remote with Caprice Nisei that only contained a team sponsorship, not the winning agenda. This was a mistake. I lost the mind games there. Why? Because I should have known that my opponent was afraid of running my Caprice remote. It's like the hen that got bitten by the snake. He kept losing the side games for my remote. Why would he ever want to attempt to contest my remote again? So of course he goes for the safer route with R&D, especially since he can power dig through that. I should have power drawn for winning agendas instead of trying to distract him with mind games, because had I drawn a 3-1 or even a 2-1 agenda on the third to last turn, I would have scored it next turn for the win before he found my winning agendas. So, well, mind games there, but that's what happens when you play remote games with Caprice Nisei. It always happens. This is Netrunner nowadays. You can't get away from it. You have to play Caprice in this deck because you need some way to score agendas ultimately, especially if your Atlases get stolen as they did this game, or if you just don't see them at all. That being said, upgrades are not the only important things. I need to change my ice speed up slightly. I'm always constrained by the lack of influence, it being spent on Caprice Nisei, food, and all the assets that I have no influence for ice. That's why you're noticing that I'm running Wormhole instead of Tollbooth, which is superior. As a result of my lousy ice, which are overpriced, Spiderweb cost quite a bit to res. I was at a very dangerous credit level mid-game where he kept running my Caprice remote and I just barely edged him out during the side games. I need ice that's cheaper but taxes more. It was a problem that my opponent was able to just pay 2 credits and get past the tour guides. That was a huge problem. That's my main source of tax basically. The spiderwebs and tour guides are very good tax against standard prepaid Kate, not so good against this version of Kate with static breakers and Shrike. Goodness me. Whoever would think of playing that breaker? Well, it paid off for my opponent there because of the lack of taxation and the fact that he made 6 credits a turn. With Security Nexus, he's able to run through my R&D and lock me down for the victory. It's still an interesting deck that is worth trying out. I still think that a similar deck will show up at Worlds. Probably different by maybe 10 cards from my Gagarin, but the idea still stands. Global Food Initiative to dilute the agenda density, coupled with team sponsorship and public support to be an absolute nuisance and to allow you to score less agendas for the win. Thanks for watching, happy net running, goodbye.